the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost."
I love it when the children's sermon, this happens a lot. The children's sermon, without us planning it, leads into the sermon, and the sermon ends up leading into the Sunday school lesson, and it works out beautifully most of the time. It's really amazing. So thank you for sharing with us about Zacchaeus today. Can you imagine in our society not wanting or not caring about being attractive? I mean, think of the money that we spend on this as a society, trying to convince other people that we're worth something simply based on what we look like. Even if you have escaped this trap, you have to be able. Would everyone please stand and turn? You have to stand again. Okay, if you please stand and turn to number 167. Thank you, Jean. Please. We have is it unison prayer or responsive reading? I don't know. We're going to do something together. Feeling super holy right now, but okay. Christ Jesus, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped.
Emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being born in our likeness.
And being found in human form, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even death on a cross.
Therefore God has highly exalted him, and bestowed on him the name which is above every name.
That at the name of Jesus every knee shall bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth.
And every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father.
Amen. Thank you. Now, can you imagine in our society not caring about what you look like? I know I'm never going to live this down. I can never get the order of worship right. Even if you have escaped this trap, surely you can see the trap that is set for all of us to fall into, and we fall into it easily, trading in our eternal and spiritual value for simply what we look like. This is often the case, and Paul talks about God's power in 2 Corinthians 12:9 being perfected in Paul's personal weaknesses. And this is often the case in our lives. I think of Susan Boyle. I don't know why she was the one who kept sticking in my head, but she's a well-known, world-famous singer right now. But she was discovered on Britain's Got Talent. And when she first took the competition stage, she was awkward. She was oddly dressed. Her hair was a mess. Google it if you haven't seen her audition. The judges mock her a little bit. They kind of aren't expecting much. They think she's going to be one of the funny disasters. Nobody expected much of her. Then she opened her mouth and started to sing. And out came a gift. God's glory, his gift to her, was made manifest in her weakness. This beauty that was her voice, it stood in opposition to her awkwardness and put a direct spotlight on that gift. And this is how it is with us. It's like white being made brighter because it is standing next to darkness. It is that juxtaposition. We have weaknesses, we have flaws, but then we have these gifts. And it is our flaws, our darkness, that highlight and spotlight the gifts, the light. The weaknesses make the gifts surprising, and it forces it out in the spotlight as the thing that is so great about each one of us. This is also how it was with Jesus. He was not the guy you would pay much attention to when he walked into a room. Then he would begin to talk. And what he said would change everything. Jesus, his appearance, his mannerisms, his personality, it was designed by God like a machine to accomplish his purpose. And his purpose was not to bring attention to himself, but to bring attention to God and allow all of humanity to see how God's kingdom works both in eternity and how it plays out on this planet. So his glory was shown through his light, his divinity, existing alongside his darkness, his humanness. So what did he look like when he walked among us? First, let's start with the fact that Jesus was a man. This is necessary at the time, because if the Savior had come as a woman, he wouldn't have gotten very far. Women at that time had no legal rights and in fact were treated as property. So he had a male body with all the normal bodily functions of a normal male body. And I do not state this to be vulgar or demeaning to Jesus in any way. I begin here because we have to really sink in that the story of Jesus is not just a nice story in theory. It does not do us any good to think of Jesus as a make-believe character and to only see him in our minds as some kind of heavenly being. Jesus was God in the flesh. This means that Jesus was a human man. He was just as real as any one of the men sitting in our pews today. If he sat in one of our pews, he probably was slouched a little bit like most of us, or thrown his arms back to support his upper back. If he sat for too long, when he stood up, he would have felt it in his back and his knees, just like the rest of us. He had the experience of a real human body. If he sat too long, his legs fell asleep. If he ate too fast, he got hiccups. If he laughed too hard, he snorted. If he got a cold, he coughed. If he got sleepy, his eyes drooped. If he got cold, he shivered. If he got hot, he sweated. He was having this was God having a normal person experience. If we don't start here, we lose the miracle of God choosing us. The scriptures tell us that God knows our weaknesses. But what does that really mean? It means that he knows what it is to walk around feeling happy, grumpy, hungry, needing a bath, wanting a hug, all the same things that we feel. Hebrews 4:15 tells us we do not have a high priest who was unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who was tempted in every way that we are, yet was without sin. The beauty of this experience is that he experienced the desire to be jealous, envious, covetous, angry. He knows what it is to have sexual temptation. He understands what it means at the end of a hard day to want to just lie down and stop trying, because he experienced what it is to be a person. So what did this person look like? From the story of Zacchaeus, thank you, Meg, we know that Jesus was not a tall man. Zacchaeus was a short man, but if Jesus had been tall, Zacchaeus still would have been able to see his head sticking up above the crowd. Most likely, Jesus was average to slightly below average height. The average Jewish man at that time was 5'1". So Jesus was probably around that height, not super impressive by our standards. We also see this height issue in the story of Jesus going out on the boat to address the crowd. When the crowd started pressing around him, those in the back couldn't see him. And he was not tall enough to address the people above their line of sight. We have no reason to believe he was extraordinarily short, so he was probably average or just a little below. Most likely 5'1" at best. Our scripture today tells us there's nothing unusual about Jesus that would have drawn us to him, just average. Nothing disfigured and ugly, nothing beautiful or striking. We know with some certainty that Jesus had dark brown hair, dark brown eyes, and brown skin. Given the unavailability of excess food, and the fact that he and his disciples lived on the road for 3 or more years, and there's more than one reference to Jesus being hungry, we can assume that he was very thin. Most people at this time were underweight by our standards, but given the circumstances that Jesus' ministry existed in, he was most likely downright skinny. So we have a short, skinny, dark Middle Eastern Jew. It's likely that Jesus had a full, scruffy, unkept beard for several reasons. First, in his ministry, Jesus and his disciples lived on the road for extended periods of time. While it is possible that people offered him the kindness of keeping his hair and beard cut, it was also the practice of religious zealots of that day to not take care of their personal grooming habits as a sign that they were involved in more otherworldly matters. And we see this example with John the Baptist, Jeremiah the prophet, and others in the Bible. Also, Jesus is referred to as rabbi in more than one place, and rabbis purposely allowed certain parts of their hair grow out. It appears that Jesus' appearance lent itself to someone who was a rabbi, and therefore did not keep himself clean shaven. So what did this effect of his appearance have on his ministry? Well, if he had walked into a room and been the most beautiful person in that room, everyone would have been attracted to him. But they would have been attracted to him for that reason. But this is the most average guy around. There's nothing particularly spectacular about him. Not particularly tall, not particularly short, not disfigured, not attractive, just regular, easily ignored. And then he talks. And what he says causes people to see the world, and in fact God, differently. Jesus' regularness is planned by God to minister to people because it kept the focus on the message. His message was about breaking down the things of this life that trap you and keep you from experiencing God fully. It's hard to imagine in our culture. It is. But if Jesus had been an attractive man, his message would have been lost. He had to be regular in order for the message to be mesmerizing. It's the light standing directly next to the dark. Over the centuries, people of all cultures have depicted Jesus in ways that most likely apply to their culture. In fact, many artists see this as part of their ministry or extension of their faith. They take the image of Jesus and they conform it to something that is relative to their culture, therefore making Jesus more accessible to the people of their region and their time. Particularly during the medieval period, this is a technique used by the church, who paid artists to depict Jesus in a way that was relatable to peasants because they were uneducated and untraveled. They had no concept of what a Middle Eastern person was, and depicting Jesus as one of them, a European, either teacher, ruler, or king, was a way to make him someone that the uneducated people could relate to. What does Jesus' appearance tell us about God and how he chooses to work among us? I'm realizing now that I wrote this sermon like a question and answer session, but we're almost done, so I'm going to go with it. We see that God will make whatever choices he needs to make to get to us. God came as a man in order to have the human freedom to move about the region and spread his message to the world. He came as a regular-looking person in order to make sure that the message received all the attention. God had other options. He had the option of stunning the world by being a woman. He had the option of attracting people by being the most attractive man in the room. But the point of Jesus was not that we needed something for the world to fixate on. God was trying to give the world, he was not trying to give the world just another headline. The point of Jesus was that we needed a new message from God. We needed a teacher. We needed a healer. We needed a savior. So Jesus came to us in the way that would most effectively reach us. Which brings us to the book we discussed earlier, The Shack. As I mentioned, it was written about 10 years ago and it's been turned into a movie. And it is a beautiful story about God coming to someone in pain in a way that God can reach that person. I know that at least some of you have read the book. I'm sure not everyone has. We are going to have the opportunity to do this movie together and then have a time of fellowship and discussion. And I really hope that you will take advantage of that. I'm really looking forward to spending time with you guys. I hope that this can be a meaningful time for all of us. And I'll share the viewing time with you as soon as the times are published. But today we've looked at the true physical portrait of Jesus. And it's important. It's important because this is the man that represents God to us. A short, hairy, dark, skinny, Middle Eastern man. This is the whole reason we get together every Sunday. This guy. A short, hairy, dark, skinny, Middle Eastern man. This is why we're here. He represents God to us. He's the reason we celebrate Lent. He is the reason for all of our hope. This is what he looked like. Today, we have looked at what was ordinary about Jesus. In the coming weeks, we're going to talk about the extraordinary nature of his ministry. Amen. If you will stand with me.